filmed a video. And the reason for that is because I fell out of the habit of filming. And now I'm trying to resuscitate my work ethic when it comes to filming on a regular basis. And so I am going to be filming frequently throughout the month of December. I guess you can call it Vlogmas. I know it's something that a lot of booktubers have done. I don't know if I'm going to be filming on a daily basis. I don't want to make promises that I cannot keep, but I will definitely be filming regularly. Without further ado, let's start the video. I am going to do a reading wrap-up for the month of November because even though I have not been filming, I have been reading. And I'm going to start with the book Cereus Blooms at Night by Shani Mootoo. The book covers quite a lot in terms of themes. It is rangy, but I think overall all the themes that are touched upon, race, gender, sexuality, all funnel into the ideas of displacement. In Cereus Blooms at Night, we follow two characters, Marla, who has gone mad due to the circumstances of her life and who has entered into the asylum paradise, and Taylor, her nurse, man who dresses as a woman and, like Marla, is also on the fringes of society. And through reading this non-lineated narrative of Taylor and Marla, the reader discovers and unravels Marla's family history. To use the lineage of the mad woman in a society that does not accept her while creating a new and fresh tone to such a piece. This was a real gem. It was nominated for the Man Booker Prize in 1996, and just based on the themes, I feel as though Mootoo was way ahead of her time. The next book that I read in the month of November is The Piano Teacher by Janice Lee. This book follows two people, Claire and Will, as they wend their way through the Hong Kong elite. They are both originally from the UK. Will comes to Hong Kong in the 1940s via India, and Claire comes to Hong Kong in the 1950s with her husband via the UK proper. The thing that I loved about this novel was the back and forth in time. We see what Hong Kong looked like in the 1940s through Will's perspective, and then again in the 1950s through Claire's perspective. And we get to see what differs and what stays the same, specifically the Hong Kong elite. And this elite is inclusive of the Hong Kong Chinese elite and the Hong Kong European elite. And then right after World War II. Will and Claire are strangely connected in the 1950s when the novel follows Claire's perspective because they both work for an elite Chinese couple. Claire works for the couple as the piano teacher, and Will works for the couple as a chauffeur. This was extremely odd in Hong Kong because both Claire and Will are white, working for Asians, when in Hong Kong at that time, and arguably still now, if you see an individual working as a chauffeur or a maid or a piano teacher for another individual in Hong Kong, they are usually of Asian descent and they're usually working for other Asians or for whites. But it's rare that you would see a white individual working for an Asian individual. The novel also has a very intriguing character named Trudy, who is somebody that Will is connected with in the 1940s and that Claire is affected by in the 1950s. Arguably, Trudy is the heart of the novel. Individuals who come into contact with her can't take their eyes off of Trudy, and individuals who hear about Trudy can't help but want to know more about her. Trudy deeply affects Will, who in turn deeply affects Claire, and all three of these individuals, Will, Trudy, and Claire, were deeply affected by the war, by the politics going on between China and the UK at that time, and more specifically, the politics going on between Hong Kong and the UK at that time. This book was not beautifully written in terms of language. I would say that it was clear, not beautiful, but what the book does do is give a very accurate perspective of the power dynamics, the political dynamics, the racial dynamics of the British and Hong Kong Chinese. Anybody who is interested in historical narrative, and for anybody who's interested in non-lineated narrative, this book is definitely something that you should check out. For anybody who liked books like James Clavell's Taipan or Noble House, which also was set in and dealt with the history of Hong Kong, maybe consider reading this book. The last fiction book that I read in the month of November was Zadie Smith's Swing Time. I was so excited for this book. I was so excited for this book. And I don't think that it disappointed. I definitely don't know if I got what I expected to get, but I did get a very well written book, an excellently crafted book, and a book that was kind of unsettling in the way that it delved into female friendships and the ways in which females love each other, and how that love can mean or translate into not even needing to hate somebody to make them have a perfectly miserable time. The book follows two young girls, one named Tracy and our narrator, who remains unnamed throughout the book, as they get to know each other, develop the kind of friendship that can only happen in young females, where it seems as though they're in love, and then ultimately as they grow apart. The book, however, does not stop there. We follow our narrator well into her 30s, and it seems as though her friendship with Tracy is almost a chorus or a backdrop to everything she does going forward in her life. Tracy is an extremely insidious, manipulating, volatile, and compelling character, and the narrator's relationship with her drives almost every decision that she makes, or at the very least, it colors every decision that the narrator makes. One of the things that I didn't necessarily enjoy in this novel were the references to contemporary things. And I was surprised to find that I'm a contemporary reader, but I am not the kind of reader that likes contemporary objects consistently in their novels. I like to read about rotary phones. I don't necessarily like to read about cell phones. I was surprised at myself because I feel like Zadie Smith really handled artifact and object well and deftly in this novel, but I didn't enjoy it as much as I think I would have had this been a historical narrative. This is a book that I recommend for individuals who want to read about youth. For all of the social drawbacks that both the narrator and her friend Tracy deal with, there is also a feeling of possibility that can only come with youth that both the narrator and Tracy exude and emanate. This is a book for anybody who wants to know what it's like to grow up in Council Flat, London, and then supersede that and move into upper class or middle class London. This is a book for a global reader. Zadie Smith takes us to a lot of different continents. We're in Europe, we're in Africa, we're in North America, and she does so wonderfully. Now I want to talk about the third character in this book, Dance itself. Zadie Smith's book is an homage to dance. There's no other way that I can say it. The body is a timeless artifact that Zadie Smith references in this novel, and she does so excellently. She discusses the bodies and the ways in which it is fluid. She discusses the body and the ways in which it betrays itself. She discusses the body and the ways in which it can be used as a tool to propel oneself forward. The narrator has exceptional theories about dance, and these are theories that the narrator seemed to be unaware of. She has ideas, but she doesn't recognize the fact that her ideas are worthwhile. As a reader, I felt it. As a reader, I felt like her ideas on dance were theoretical in a way that a PhD's study on dance might be. And that's another layer of irony in the book, because the narrator's mother is very theoretical, is very intellectual, and spends a lot of time chasing the dream of becoming an intellect and a social activist. And then she creates this daughter who have these moments of elucidation when it comes to dance, and it's completely and totally not recognized by the mother or by the daughter. At the heart of this novel, however, is the friendship that I referenced at the beginning of this wrap-up. And I would say that anybody who is interested in reading about the good, the bad, and the ugly of friendships, especially female friendships, this book is something that you should definitely crack open. So, November was Nonfiction November, and as such, I delved into some books about the country that I was born and raised in, the Bahamas, that I felt were necessary. And I was given this book a couple of years ago, Islanders in the Stream, Volume 1, by Gail Saunders, a notable Bahamian historian, and I let it sit for a while, but over the year I've been dipping in and out of it, and I'm coming to the end of it. This book is for Bahamians, or anybody who's interested in the Caribbean, or anybody who's interested in reading outside of the regular genres or the regular topics that they read from. This book covers the history of the Bahamas during the time of the Arawaks, that's the Native American Indians that lived there, and it takes you right up to the emancipation of the slaves who were brought over to the Bahamas by British loyalists, and earlier who came over to the Bahamas as freed slaves or who came over to the Bahamas as a part of pirate ships. It covers all of that. The three main historical sections that I was really taken with in this book were the historical narratives about the Amerindians, the historical narrative about piracy, and the historical narrative about the British loyalists who brought their slaves over. I think one of the things that anybody reading this book will find unusual about the Bahamas is the Bahamas has always been a nation of freed peoples, or a nation of radical peoples. It's always been a nation where individuals escaping some kind of persecution based on the yoke of the society that they have come from comes to. And so I found this book really enjoyable, and I love the idea that I come from a people who strive for a certain type of personal freedom. I don't know, this book just filled me with a lot of pride. So because I read Islanders in the Stream, which in large part dealt with piracy in the Bahamas, I then went and took this book out, The Republic of Pirates by Colin Woodard. This book covers some of the most infamous pirates known throughout history, and it tells the story of how a pirate democracy was set up in the Bahamas on the capital island of New Providence in the city of Nassau. It also tells the tale of how this republic was brought down by British Governor Woodes Rogers. This book covers a seminal part of Bahamian history and gives readers that glimpse into a people who refuse to be governed by societal norms, so I really enjoyed it. So if you are interested in reading about the Caribbean, specifically the Bahamas, specifically pirates, this book, Pirates Republic, might be a good place for you to start. That is all the books that I have read for the month of November. Stay tuned for my December TBR, which I will be filming and putting up shortly. Keep reading, keep writing, keep reviewing. Bye now.